From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Louie B.
Yes, it is Ticats Today for a Wednesday, November the 3rd, 2021. Thanks for joining us. Ticats back at the practice field. Actually, their last practice ahead of Friday's game. They'll hold their walkthrough tomorrow and then, of course, take on the BC Lions Friday night under the lights at Tim Hortons Field. Hope you'll join us. Tickets available at ticats.ca. And if you're coming down to the game, make sure to join us on Tiger Cats pregame, presented by Active Green and Ross, starting at 6 o'clock. Even if you're not coming down to the game, make sure to have us tuned in. And then RJ and Luke will have the call starting at 7 o'clock. Speaking of the Ticats Audio Network, busy couple of days here as we get set for Friday's game, including a brand new episode of Morreale and Hitch and a brand new episode of Speaking with the Enemy dropping today as well. I was joined by Matt Baker from the BC Lions to get the scouting report on Friday's opponent. So wherever you're checking out this podcast, make sure to go check out those ones as well and subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network so you never miss an episode of this show or any of the other great shows we have for you. A big show coming up today. We're going to hear from Coach O, as we normally do. We're going to hear from Tim White, who's having just a fantastic start to his CFL career. And we'll speak to Tim White's coach in Jarryd Baines. He's responsible for the wide receivers, the wide receiver coach, and have a chance to catch up with him. So lots to get to coming up on today's program. I want to let you know, yesterday we told you that Jeremiah Masoli was a top performer for week 13. Well, how about this? He's named a top performer for the month of October. Yeah, Jeremiah Masoli was named one of the top performers for the month of October in the CFL, joining Montreal's David Menard and Winnipeg's Zach Caleros. Masoli started 4 games, completing 75% of his passes for 1,261 yards and 7 touchdowns with no picks. He also added 12 carries for 99 rushing yards over that span and threw for 300 yards and at least 2 touchdowns in 3 consecutive games to close out the month. So congratulations to Jeremiah Masoli, a top performer for the month of September, just a few days after being named the CFL's top performer for week 13. All right, let's hear from the head coach of the Ticats. That's Orlando Steinauer. Caught up with him after practice today, and with a short week, started off by asking him whether the expectations change when you're only kind of hitting the practice field twice compared to maybe a bit longer week. Here's what he had to say.
Our expectations raise every week. We talk about that all the time, Louie. So, obviously we do taper some expectations because the goal is to be healthy for the game, but also be prepared to win. So there's that fine line, but I like the energy. I liked our attention to detail, but ultimately there's a test every week. So I do like our lead up so far, but there's more prep time, more stuff that we need to get accomplished before we take the field. We're banged up for sure. But that's what it is. That's an honest answer. Doesn't make a difference. They're going to kick the ball off. We'll be ready to go. Well, I see, an offensive attack that's going to go down the field. They're creative. I feel like their defense plays hard. I've competed against teams that are coached by Rick, be it when he's a D coordinator or when he's been the head coach, and I know they'll be ready to play. So, I see a football team that's, they're out east not to go home denied, right? And so that's what the game is for. So, looking forward to a highly competitive game. Yeah, well, I think it's just one more variable to know about, but we don't play records, we don't play streaks, and we don't play, we play a football team every week, right? So we don't kind of worry about that. We are aware of the situation, but that's, it hasn't even been talked about, between our walls at all. It's just happens to be the situation that they're in, but our focus 95% of the time will remain on ourselves.
That is the head coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Orlando Steinauer, as he spoke to us after practice today. Remember, you can get full scrums questions and answers, everybody involved over at Ticats.ca. You'll be able to catch Coach O, who we caught up with today, Tim White, who we're going to play for you in just a second. We also caught up with Jovan Santos Knox. So if you want to hear what they had to say in full, just head over to Ticats.ca to check out those full scrums. That's where you'll find them. But we caught up with Tim White, and lots of great stuff here from Tim. Obviously having a breakout season in the Canadian Football League. And I asked him off the top, just kind of what's changed for him from week 1 as we're getting set here for week 14. What's changed for Tim White? Here's what he had to say.
I think it's changed situationally. Like I said earlier in the season, there were times where I would get on the field on second down, and then I would think I would have a third down, and I didn't have that. So I think that way it's changed. And also I'm just getting more comfortable, understanding the playbook more, understanding my teammates more, and just gaining trust. I feel like that's had, a big difference over the course of the weeks. Yeah, definitely well-deserved right there. I just seen, especially him coming back from his first injury and stuff, I just seen him kind of take initiative to lead the team, lead the offense, and really just take it upon himself to, be the guy who he is, who we know he is. So I just think he just coming out there I'm gonna make sure I make these plays, and I'm gonna make sure I make these throws and give my guys opportunities. And I think that's been the biggest difference. Yeah, I mean, he's the same, he's a quiet guy, but you can tell he just wants to win. You can see it around in his body language. You can see it in his eyes when he's on the field. He just wants to be a guy that makes an impact and gives his guys chances. And yeah, I mean, I would say that's pretty much it. He's definitely just on it. He's a professional. He wants, he's putting guys in the right situations. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Man, a lot. Just all over the place. I started off at Arizona State. Obviously beforehand I was a JUCO athlete. So it just shows that, I battled through adversity. I'm somebody that, when things get tough, I just find a way out of it. And that's what I just continue to do daily, especially here, thankful for the opportunity and just want to come out here and make plays for my team pretty much. Yeah, definitely 100%. It was funny because I typically don't celebrate Halloween and stuff. It's nonchalant about it. But for whatever reason, I just thought of my brother, and I could just imagine him telling me get dressed up and go out with my teammates and stuff. So basically that's what I did. And I finally put on a costume and just had a little bit of fun with it. But yeah, 100%, I think about him. I'm inspired by him. And, I just try to feel his energy pretty much.
That is Tim White as he spoke to us after practice today. And remember, you can go Ticats.ca for the full comments that he made. Lots of great stuff from him there, talking about his brother who was tragically killed by police in an accident 10 years ago. And yeah, talking about his Halloween costume, how he's inspired to go out for Halloween thinking of his brother. So a great guy, and he's been great to get to know and great to watch on the field as well. He's been one of the many bright spots for this Ticats team this season, but definitely a bright spot to see what Tim White has been able to do this season. Speaking of receivers, very pleased now to be joined by the wide receiver coach for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. That is Jarryd Baines. And Coach Baines, really your first full season as the wide receivers coach. So just to that vein, I wanted to check in with how the season's been going with you.
It's been awesome. It's a little bit of ups and downs on the climb to the summit that we're at right now, but it's been super positive from my end. We have a very talented, and I think the first time we spoke, we talked about kind of the talent across our group. So it's been a pleasure to work with the, just the group we have. We've moved a couple of guys in and out that have been, exciting to work with, and seeing their first CFL start and first CFL touchdown. It's amazing to see the wealth of talent that our scouting department's been able to bring from the receiver position, because even now, we've unfortunately had to let guys go that I still think are extremely talented players and should be in this league in some capacity going forward. But it's just been an absolute treat with the room that we have, with the coaches that I'm working with. So it's been a treat so far for the first, what are we at, 12 games now? 12th game coming up.
To that point, I mean, what's it like to see guys who are so talented, who have that raw talent? So guys like, Tim White, guys like Steven Dunbar, who come into this raw, like really raw when it comes to the Canadian game. What's that experience like for you to see kind of that moment click for them and see, oh, okay, I get it. Or to see that development in the kind of Canadian style that we're used to seeing?
Yeah, those two were pretty advanced, in terms of their understanding of the game. I would say, what the one main thing that guys initially struggle with, and I say it's pretty much across the board for Americans, is the waggle and the different variants of movement you can get in the Canadian game. So it will always take a week or two, and it was nice maybe a little to have that extra long training camp this year, where there was a little more time to work through that. But with those guys and for most of the guys we have, in terms of understanding of concepts and understanding of what we're trying to accomplish with our offense, I think Coach Condell does an awesome job relating it to concepts that they might have previously understood in a different offense. And I think they've done a great job of adapting their previous understanding to include Canadian football and the waggle and the nuances with that and the releases according to that, as well as motions and all that. So I think it's been, fun to watch with those guys. But it was, I would say for most of them, it's been a relatively easy transition, minus a week or so of training camp where we're really trying to get used to the Canadian motions, the Canadian waggle and that.
Speaking of that, I mean, there have been games this season where Jalen Acklin has been your most experienced receiver out there. And as a receivers coach, when you have guys in the room like Banks and Addison and earlier in the season and Posey, and the most experienced guy you can put out is Jalen Acklin, what have you seen from him as he takes this next step into a guy that, other teams have to kind of go above and beyond in terms of scouting out as kind of the number one target here? But what have you seen from him kind of from year one to year two?
Yeah, he does a great job of leading by example. First of all, he's definitely a fun-loving guy off the field, but when you get him on the field, like, he's extremely locked in, extremely intense, and not that he plays angry, but he definitely has an intensity about him that I think others gravitate towards. With him, he's been, and we asked him in 2019 to actually play a few different positions, so it was probably difficult for him, but it probably helped his growth in the game. And for us, he's been extremely helpful because he's a guy that's played those multiple positions. So he definitely has an understanding of the complete offense. So he's been able to, at times when there's confusion, try to correct things, try to get things right, try to put guys in the right position. So it's been a blessing to have him. And, he's really done a good job this year with being more vocal and being more assertive in, he knew this stuff and he continued to know this stuff last year, but now he's being more vocal and he's, like I said, he's going out of his way to correct things and make things right. And if guys have a question, they are not hesitant at all to go to Acklin because they know he knows what's going on.
And to that point, I mean, I've talked to Steven and Tim about this too. Having Brandon Banks in the room, I mean, he's the MOP for a reason. He knows this game better than just about anybody who steps onto the field. What for you as a coach, what's it like having a Speedy B in the room to kind of not even just bounce ideas off of, but to kind of use him to help other guys explain it a little bit better? What the value of Speedy B on the field and off? Just touch on that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, he is a wealth of knowledge. There's no doubt. He's not that I'm saying it's tough to coach him because he's seen so much and he knows so much, and a lot of the times he can kind of stop you halfway in between your coaching point and say, I got you, and you can kind of have that mutual understanding of a look at him and you're like, oh, you saw what I saw, and he'll kind of know. It's cool to have him around. He definitely is a guy we'll call on for some of our base routes, and we'll say, Speedy, what do you think, or what you see here? So we do try to solicit his opinion within that. He has, I'd say, his best feel is for vertical routes and the movement involved with the game. So it is great to see it. And we do try to actively call on him at times to kind of give his perspective within it. But he has been awesome to kind of bounce ideas off of, and then on things that other guys are struggling with or other guys are kind of learning, he's able to kind of pull them aside and just chat through things with them. So it's awesome because it's great for me as a coach to stand up there and correct, but I think a lot of the times the players do appreciate feedback from their peers, especially from those who have the vast experience that Speedy B would have in this league. So I think it is appreciated by the rest of the group, just with his experience, for being able to provide that knowledge to them.
We were asking Jeremiah earlier this week about Tyler Ternowski and he was called into the game. He comes up, he makes a great catch, and as soon as we asked Solely about it, he just kind of cracked a smile. We asked about him being a hometown kid. What's it been like to see Ternowski kind of take everything in? This is a big year, obviously, as a rookie. You come in, you're a Hamilton kid. What have you seen from Tyler Ternowski this season?
Well, first of all, he's been an absolute force on special teams, which has been his main role so far. He has the distinctly tough job, and a lot of people wouldn't know this. He's like, what's the toughest receiver position? Well, the toughest receiver position at times can actually be the one that's on the field and the one that has to be the sixth receiver, because he's tasked with learning really all 5 positions. So complete credit to him. And with him, he was obviously super tuned in and super smart. So we were doing some Zoom meetings in the off season that he kind of brought upon and wanted to do. So I was trying to filter that info to him in the off season, but he came from an offense actually that used a lot of same terminology. So the transition was relatively easy for him. He definitely has a feel for the Canadian game, being so successful for all those years at Waterloo, but he has just been an absolute delight to work with. I think all the guys love him and gravitate towards him with his energy. Anytime he gets on the field, he's flying. He wants to finish on a jersey. He wants to run to the football. And like I said, he's been an absolute force on special teams, which has been a kind of a nice treat for us. We always knew he'd be a good receiver, and he will continue to be a good receiver. But his ability to play special teams and his ability to be that sixth receiver and to really slot into any position, whether it's a wideout, whether it's a slot to the boundary, to the field, he has been more than acceptable and more than willing to learn all that stuff and take on that tough job, because it really is a tough job, that sixth receiver position within this offense.
Coach Baines, it's always great to catch up with you. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Louie.
My thanks to Jarryd Baines, wide receivers coach for the Ticats. Coach Baines, for joining me today. And my thanks to you for tuning in as well. Really do appreciate it. We are back tomorrow, same time, same place. We'll have the depth chart in our hands. We'll break it down for you. All getting set for Friday's game against the BC Lions. Make sure to subscribe to the Ticats Audio Network so you never miss an episode. Go check out some of the other great shows we have for you, including a brand new episode of Morielli and Hitch on the Ticats Audio Network. Thanks for tuning in today. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place for the Ticats Audio Network. I'm Louie B. Hoping you have a great day.
Ticats Today with Louie B. Subscribe, like, and get your Ticats fix every weekday.